Everyone thought the old woman would die alone in that storm. No one expected the man pulling her from the flood to carry a past that would bring a Navy admiral to his door in tears. The wind had already crossed the line from violent to merciless when the confrontation happened. Sirens wailed somewhere beyond the rain, drowned out by thunder that seemed to split the sky in half. The old woman's house, small, weather-beaten, stubbornly standing near the edge of the marsh, shuddered as water surged against its foundation. And standing knee-deep in freezing floodwater was a man most people barely noticed anymore. Quiet. Broad-shouldered, scarred, watching the house like it was a battlefield he could not abandon. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. His name was Daniel Mercer, though no one in town called him that. To them, he was just Dan, the man who fixed fences for cash, the man who never stayed long in conversation, the man with eyes that always seemed to measure distance and risk, even while buying bread at the local store. They did not know he had once learned to read the ocean the way others read a clock. They did not know storms used to be his workplace. The night the hurricane hit, evacuation orders had come late, too late for some. The old woman Evelyn Carter had refused to leave, she always did. 83 years of stubborn independence had carved deep lines into her face and deeper ones into her habits. When the water began pouring through her doors, she told herself it would stop. It didn't. Daniel had been packing his truck to leave when he saw her porch light flicker once, then twice. It was barely visible through the rain, a fragile pulse against the darkness. He froze. Something tightened in his chest, a familiar pressure he hadn't felt in years. He told himself it wasn't his responsibility. He told himself rescue teams were coming. He told himself he was done running toward danger. The wind answered by tearing a section of roof clean off her house. By the time Daniel reached her porch, the water was already rising fast. The boards creaked under his boots, slick with rain and algae. He could hear Evelyn inside, coughing, shouting words that dissolved into panic. He broke the door open with his shoulder, the impact echoing like a gunshot. Inside, chaos. Furniture floated, family photographs bobbed against the ceiling. Evelyn clung to a doorframe, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold on. "It's all right," Daniel said, his voice calm in a way that surprised even him. "I've got you." What? She looked at him, eyes wide, searching his face as another wave slammed into the house. "I can't swim," she whispered. "I know." The roof groaned. Daniel didn't wait. He moved with a precision his body remembered before his mind caught up. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket from his truck, secured a rope around her waist and his own, and timed their escape between surges. The water was ice. The current fought him like a living thing. Neighbors watched from their windows, powerless. Someone screamed his name, someone prayed. A coffee cup rattled off a windowsill as the ground vibrated under thunder. Halfway back, Evelyn slipped. For one terrible second, Daniel felt her weight vanish from the rope. The storm roared louder as if claiming victory. His heart slammed against his ribs. He planted his feet, leaned back, and hauled with everything he had left. Muscles screamed. Old injuries flared like fire. He pulled her back. She thought she'd never see daylight again. She was wrong. When they reached higher ground, rescue crews were finally arriving. Evelyn was rushed into an ambulance, her fingers gripping Daniel's sleeve until the last moment. "You came back," she said, tears mixing with rain. Daniel nodded once. Then he disappeared into the night before anyone could ask questions. The storm passed by morning, leaving silence in its wake. Streets were wrecked, homes were ruined. And Daniel returned to his small rental house, exhausted, soaked, trying to quiet the ghosts that had surfaced with the flood. He told himself it was over. The knock came the next day. It was slow, heavy, deliberate. When Daniel opened the door, the entire street seemed to hold its breath. A black government sedan sat at the curb. Two uniformed officers stood at attention. And between them was a man in full Navy dress uniform, silver stars on his shoulders catching the morning light. His posture was rigid, but his face was breaking. "Petty Officer Daniel Mercer," the man said, voice trembling despite the authority behind it. "Sir, may I come in?" Daniel didn't salute, he couldn't. His hands were shaking too badly. Inside the house, the Admiral removed his cap and held it against his chest. His eyes were wet now, openly so. "I've been looking for you for 12 years, he said. "I never thought I'd get the chance to say this in person." Daniel felt the floor tilt beneath him. Evelyn had survived. More than that, she had talked. While doctors worked to stabilize her, she told them everything she remembered about the man who saved her. His voice, his calm, the way he tied the rope. A nurse with a military background recognized the methods immediately. Calls were made, records were checked. What the town didn't know was that Daniel Mercer had once been part of a classified SEAL team that saved the Admiral's son during a covert operation gone catastrophically wrong. A mission where Daniel had pulled a young officer from the surf under enemy fire. A mission where others didn't make it back. After that night, Daniel vanished from the military world. Survivor's guilt does that. It convinces you that disappearing is the same as atonement. The Admiral stood there now, tears falling freely. You saved my son, he said, and yesterday you saved my mother. Daniel stared at him. I didn't know, he whispered. That doesn't matter, the Admiral replied. You never do it for recognition, you just do it. Outside, neighbors had gathered. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as they realized who stood in Daniel's doorway. Someone raised a phone. Someone lowered it again, sensing the weight of the moment. The Admiral straightened. You never sought honor, he said. But honor has a way of finding those who live by it. He reached into his coat and placed a folded flag on Daniel's table. Daniel's breath caught, his vision blurred. The house was quiet except for the soft sound of fabric unfolding and the distant hum of recovery crews still working down the street. For the first time in years, Daniel didn't feel like running. Evelyn came home a week later. Daniel visited her once, standing awkwardly in her doorway. She hugged him with surprising strength. You came back, she said again. So did you, he replied. The town never looked at him the same way after that. But Daniel didn't change. He still fixed fences, still spoke little, still watched the horizon when storms rolled in. Some habits are built in blood and saltwater. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back.